if only I could do more, or what am I doing? What haven't I been doing to get this right? As
Yes.
though getting it right changes really anything.
Mm,
Life is still going to
mm,
come at us. There's still going to be ups and downs and challenges and all kinds of things
mm.
because that's life. But there
Yeah.
is the tendency with the imbalance in the womb to turn on ourselves and bring maybe anger that turns inward, and then it can feed into depression. It
Mm.
can become focusing on the future and the anxiety.
Welcome to the 30 Something Shift podcast, the podcast where I support women in their 30s move through the real shifts in life that shape our well-being. I'm Liv, a menstrual cycle, fertility and pregnancy yoga teacher. Here we explore our cycles, fertility, conception and pregnancy through yoga, meditation and real conversations. I'm so excited to share this episode with you. Today we're welcoming Jessica of Soulfire Doula to the show. Jessica is a womb energy healer, a yoga teacher, and a birth doula. She has such an incredible insight into women's energy and healing, how we hold things in our womb. So it's a really empowering, inspiring conversation. And if you're anything like me, you're going to leave this conversation feeling really energetic and buzzy and feminine and just really good about turning inward and listening to your body and honoring what your body truly needs. This episode is incredible, and I know that you're going to love it just as much as I did. So let's welcome Jessica to the show. Hey, hi Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, Liv. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited to hear about what you do. So yeah, if you could just start off telling us what womb healing is, what you do, and how you help women that you work with.
Absolutely. So womb healing is really focusing in for women on the womb center, which is both
Mhm,
physical, emotional, and energetic. The
mhm,
physical being the womb, the reproductive organs,
mhm,
and of the female body, and then also energetically, we're really honing in and talking about the second chakra, our Swadhisthana, in the
mhm,
yogic and Hindu tradition is where we're really focusing in. And then emotionally as well, that kind of overlaps since Swadhisthana holds so much of our emotional life and
mhm,
emotional memory. And so womb healing focuses in on that cross section of the physical, the energetic, the emotional, this really and truly this cosmic portal through which new life comes into the world and through this
mhm,
incredible creation station that lives in the woman's body through which new
yeah,
ideas, all kinds of possibilities are really birthed into this world. So that is primarily what I focus on. As a Shiwamurti energy healer, as well as a yoga instructor, um, kind of
mhm,
focusing and specializing in perinatal health and wellness around fertility, prenatal, postnatal yoga, and then also as a doula.
amazing. Yeah. And I was really surprised when you said before that obviously it's more than just a physical organ and it actually holds emotions and memories and stories. Is that right? Like the womb is actually holding that. And how does that show up for women?
So how that can show up in so many different ways. When we're talking energetically about Swadhisthana, about the second chakra,
Mm,
where it's the element for it is water. So water really holding and containing our pelvic bowl, giving that shape and holding the water. Anything that comes in, right? If you put anything into the water, it's going to change the water.
mhm,
Whether that's like a little bit of ink or a little bit of sand, or like the color can change. And pretty soon that water can take on new colors, new forms. It can become a bit murky. And
mhm,
so with the energy healing, it's another way, like with yoga, where you can really cleanse that water and release the old, release what isn't serving anymore, move it through and let it go. How it can show up for women when we have stored old emotions, that can get stuck, old memories and
Mm,
stories. Sometimes that can come up not only in emotions around guilt, around shame, around blame, around
mhm,
comparison, those kinds of feelings of I'm not good enough, those kinds of perfectionist tendencies
mm,
towards I need to do more, or I need to do this, or if I could only have X, Y, and Z lined up, then everything will be okay.
mm,
Or as though if I could do something better, then life would just be easier. And so
mm,
those are kind of those ways that it comes up. And there's so much in our Western society and our
mm,
history that puts a lot of shame on the female body, especially on the
mm,
womb space, on the menstrual cycle, on
mm,
our menstrual blood,
mm,
and that it's somehow something that's bad. It's not necessarily celebrated. So
mm,
this could just be in your own life, but it's also in our history. It's in our society. It's in our red thread, our line through our mothers and our
mm,
grandmothers and our great grandmothers. All of that came before us. And we were there, when
mm,
our grandmother was pregnant with our mother. We were there. We were the egg. That memory
mm,
is there, and through that red thread, all the way back through our female line. And
mm,
so, even if we didn't actually live that experience, it's still there in our bodies
mm,
and can influence and show up as that comparison, that envy, jealousy, sometimes that
mm.
competition, that feeling of, this woman has it all together or she's better than I do. In Instagram and social media can make it a little harder to
Yeah.
see people's feeds and see their like, you know, public facing image, but not
Mm,
know what goes on behind the scenes or not see the humanity behind where we're all just doing the best we can, Like,
yeah.
just because someone's got a really great Instagram post doesn't mean that their bathroom is clean or they don't have like a bunch of laundry overflowing in their closet.
Yeah.
Like it's not the full picture or even what's
Yeah.
going on internally.
Mm,
And so those are some of the ways that it can show up in that kind of imbalance in um, particularly in women, these sort of self-flagellation times
mm,
of if only I could do more, or what am I doing, or what haven't I been doing to get this right,
yes.
as though getting it right changes really anything.
Mm,
Life is still going to
mm,
come at us. There's still going to be ups and downs and challenges and all kinds of things
mm,
because that's life. But there
yeah.
is the tendency with the imbalance in the womb to turn on ourselves and bring maybe anger that turns inward and then it can feed into depression. It
Mm,
can become focusing on the future and the anxiety of if I could only do this, if I could
mm,
add one more thing, if I could stick to my schedule, if I could
mm,
biohack a little more, whatever it might be,
mm,
it becomes that internalized pressure. And then that can become the anxiety and then turn into more disease in our lives. It can become very reactive. So bottling up emotions, stuffing them all the way
yeah.
down into the
Mm,
womb, into the second chakra. And then they explode. And then they may explode, especially around our menstrual cycle, especially premenstrually, where we
mhm,
can't hold in those emotions anymore just to
yeah.
like get along, just to make it through our day and be a, quote unquote, a good girl or a nice girl.
Mm,
and then it all erupts out. So those are some of the ways. I mean, there's many, like
Yeah.
it can be anything from as well, like physically showing up, right?
Mm,
Whether that's fibroids or PCOS, and there can be all kinds of reasons behind that, but sometimes that imbalance in the womb, that emotional or energetic dis-ease can also
mm,
manifest, with low back pain, throwing your back out, having hip issues because our foundation is off, because we feel like we can't trust ourselves, or
mm,
or just fundamentally are blaming ourselves for things that were never our responsibility. So
mm,
those are some of the ways that it can come up, and why
yeah.
the work that you're doing, the knowledge, the awareness, the education around who we are as women, and embracing our feminine bodies, our womb
Mm,
spaces, our menstrual
yeah.
blood,
Yeah.
and using things like yoga, like energy healing. It can make a
Mm,
difference to just feel a little more centered, more
yeah.
peaceful, more
Mm,
grounded, and at home in our bodies, which in and of itself is revolutionary, since there's so much
yeah.
in our history that has just vilified the female body, desired it, wanted to
Mm,
control it, put it on a
yeah.
pedestal, and then, knock the pedestal down and try to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
mhm.
It's interesting you brought up the word trust because I was thinking about you talking where I often talk a lot about a disconnect with our body where we don't trust it anymore or we resent it or it's not doing what we so desperately want it to do. And when there's women on a fertility journey, there's so much resentment towards yourself and you're doing everything
Yes.
right.
Oh,
But like you said, you're sending all that energy inward, right? And you're just not trusting the thing that you need to work with to be able
yes.
to conceive. So obviously I talk about this with yoga where you can step on the mat and trust your body and just listen to it, not judge it, not change it, no standards, no expectation. You literally step on there to listen to it and connect with your body again. So that's sort of coming up for me when you're talking about that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, that's
Mm,
so beautiful and so
mhm,
important. I mean,
yeah.
and in many ways, it's absolutely radical and revolutionary
Yeah.
because there is not much that I grew up with that said, listen to and trust your body.
Mm,
Every commercial I hear is ask your doctor, ask another person.
yeah. Yeah.
And in a world where asking a medical professional whose studies have, and in my work as a birth doula, I know that s- medical studies
Mm,
and medical policy is about 30 years behind the studies in the birth world, and for pregnancy and prenatal care and
mm,
postpartum care. Like there's a
yeah.
30-year gap between what we know and what we are actually doing and
Yeah.
offering to women.
Mm,
So, given that, the fact that we are told to ask when the actual policies are really behind.
mm,
And even the products that we are sold and we use for the precious time in our cycle where we are menstruating, like, have only recently been actually tested with menstrual blood. Like, the disconnect is so huge. So
yeah.
we're supposed to trust everyone else who aren't really taking our full health,
Mm,
well-being, or prioritizing how complex the female system is.
mm,
It's simpler to do research on a male body than as a
yeah.
female body. It just is. It takes more
Yeah.
expertise, it takes more time, it takes more
Mm,
patience, it takes more analysis, it takes all, and we deserve it. We're worthy of it in every way.
mm,
So to say trust your body, when so much of what we've been encouraged with is not that, even in
yeah.
a society of like shame around what are you wearing, and like,
Mm,
even around women who have had violence against them, like, well, what did you do is often the what were you doing,
mm,
what were you wearing. There's a
yeah.
lot of that blame put on us,
Mm.
even in the fertility journey of, it's almost like a default mode of sort of
Yeah.
these accusatory, like, well, when was this? And what have you been doing here? And what have you been doing here? And what about this? And it's like,
Mm.
whoa, some of this is beyond our control, and to release
Yeah.
some of the responsibility that isn't ours. And that's where I would just say, like, I love so much. I mean, I want to take your class because to hear that is so refreshing.
Mm.
And it's such a good reminder of, whew, it's not all on us. There's
Mm.
so much
Yeah.
more happening.
Yeah.
So to stop and to
Absolutely.
just listen to our bodies and listen to our intuition and to ourselves is a way to come back out of the noise and come back to
Mm.
what's real and true.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, and you do a womb healing circle, is that right? Every month? You said about, yeah. So what
Yes.
does that look like? What would it be like to be part of that? Talk me through it.
Yes, yes. So we gather on the new moon,
Mhm.
because for women's menstrual cycles, like
Yeah.
you have the moon made me do it,
Yeah.
right? We when we are really aligned and in tune with nature, and in the past for our ancestors before ambient light and
Mm.
all that we have, our blue lights and
Yeah.
our screens, we would bleed, and our cycle would move with the moon. And
Yeah.
so the new moon is, if you have a red cycle where you would bleed with the new moon and ovulate with the full moon.
Mhm.
Some people have a white cycle, and not everyone has like the perfect 28 and a half like day
Yeah.
cycle, like the moon does, which is totally fine. But you can kind of see where it ebbs and flows. So a
Yeah.
white cycle would be bleeding with the full moon and ovulating with the new moon.
Mm.
So for our womb healing circle, we gather with the new moon.
Mhm.
Even if someone isn't menstruating, that's totally fine. But with following that moon cycle of the new moon being that inward time to release, the dark
Mhm.
moon to kind of
Yeah.
go into the dark, into the portal, the dark portal of the
Mhm.
womb, and turn inward to
Mhm.
really listen. We do movement to let go of kind of what's been stuck, to release tension, to really open up in our bodies and our hearts, to let go of like the to-do lists and put them to the
Yeah.
side so we can really drop into our bodies, and
Mm.
then dive into meditation to listen and to
Mm.
go into a space where we're connecting with our wombs. Maybe for some people, it can be the first time. And for other people, this is something they're doing regularly because they're
Yeah.
coming to the moon circles, each month.
Mm.
And so to listen and connect and see what is true. What questions do you have that your intuition
Mm.
and that your womb can bring forth the answers and let you
Mm.
know what's next? In the United States, there were many indigenous cultures and First Peoples that with their moon lodges, that was the time when the women would go and divinate for the entire tribe,
Mm.
because the power of the menstrual cycle is so strong and the connection to nature. And they would go into these moon lodges, and the dreams being so potent and the connection to nature, they would come out and say, this is the direction for the tribe now. This is the
Mm.
next thing we're going to do. And so, with the womb healing circles, it's a time to come back. What are the questions weighing on our hearts that our wombs can guide us to, can bring forth the deeper truths that maybe have been silenced with the noise in our heads? And
Mm.
then we go into some energy healing. I lead it with a dear, 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 dear friend of mine who's also a Shiwamurti energy healer and one of the teachers in the United States.
Mm.
And so then we offer energy healing to everyone's womb space, to their hearts, depending on where the energy wants to go for each person. And
Mm.
so then it's just a time to receive quietly. It's very relaxing as a participant. You're just kind of
Yeah.
receiving and saturating in that.
Mm.
And then, we close and journal and um, leave feeling lighter at the same time as more at peace and grounded in our bodies, and with
Mm.
more of a clear direction, for this next that next moon cycle. Yes, so that's our womb healing circle, and we offer those online, and then a recording too, because not everyone can always make it, in
Yeah.
the same time zone.
Mhm. Oh yeah, tell me about it, the time zones. Trying to figure it all out. It sounds
Right.
amazing though, yeah, and I think there's such a big part to that community as well, isn't there? Of just knowing there's other women out there, maybe feeling the same as you, or maybe sharing stories, or just even sharing that energy when you're in that circle. That must be really, that community feel must be really healing as well in itself.
Yes, absolutely. Because just as you said, you can hear the ways in which you're not alone.
Mm.
And that's so healing in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then also kind of normalizing the stages in our life. There's so much that is shoved away.
Yeah.
Whether that's like birth that's sort of hidden behind the curtains in life, and it's
Mm.
like give birth and bounce back,
Mhm.
or moving into perimenopause, into menopause and beyond. And
Mm.
that sort of traditionally what we would know is like the crone stage or the wise woman stage. Oftentimes that is pushed to the side and not respected fully. So
Mm.
having a space to share and to gather and people to hear and to learn and go, oh, okay, that's something that I could know in the future. Maybe I'm not in menopause yet, but hearing from this wise woman of her experience and how this is helping her now can help me
Mm.
see how to move forward. Or maybe I'm trying to conceive, but I'm hearing about a woman postpartum, and this is something I wasn't aware of, but something that I can think about. Okay, how can I work toward, plan, and or I shouldn't say work towards, because we don't need to give women more work. But how can I have the awareness that this is something either normal or not normal and something I could seek support around? So,
Mm.
in that way, it's very healing to talk about the journeys and the stages of life and honoring all of that for all women. And then there's just something so beautiful about the huge hearts and love, amounts of love that women hold for each other. So even if
Yeah.
it's a stranger coming in,
Mm.
the amount that someone is going to listen and like be right there with her and be on her side and want the best for her and send
Yeah.
this intention of like what you want, I want for you too. And
Mm.
I like I'm just holding with so much love that
Yeah.
you get it and you receive all that you desire. Like, and so to compound that with all the people and then magnify it in this really um just pure energy of love and feeling like a sacred container and that circle, it's phenomenal, and I really I hold a special place in my heart for it, absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. Yeah. And obviously with energy healing, it's not something I've known a lot about. It's obviously outside of what we'd call mainstream medicine, I suppose. And so, what kind of experiences have you seen with energy healing, and what would you say to maybe a skeptic about this kind of work?
Oh, absolutely, right? I mean, it is just beyond, it's like something you'd see in movies, right? We go to a Marvel movie and we'd see like Doctor Strange doing something, I don't know, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing because energy is it's very real, it's very palpable.
Hmm.
And Shiwamurti, I am so amazed by over and over and over and over again. Because the things that I have seen, the ways that people have felt transformed by it, sometimes just with a mini session or just their first session, how their shoulder plane can go away or they can start to move it more than they could before. Um, it's astounding, and I'm always amazed by the stories. I mean, I remember doing one of my first after I did my training, one of the first community events that we offered, because we in the lineage through Bali they offer a lot of community events, so we keep that tradition going. um and so one of the community events, a woman came and she had hearing aids in, and she'd been losing her hearing over time, and she was still a pretty young woman. And so we worked on her, and And she did. She actually didn't even have to put the hearing aid back in, and someone across the room was testing and said her name. You know, they'd done it before and she couldn't really hear them, and then they did it after, and she turned right away and said, and like it was a very remarkable shift.
One thing that's made my periods easier is switching to Wooka period pants. As someone who teaches menstrual cycle health and yoga for menstruation, comfort matters to me, and I know it matters to you too. I want to move, rest, and work without constantly having to worry about my period. Wooka reusable period pants are stretchy, they're comfortable, they support you, especially on heavy days. If you'd like to make the switch to Wooka period pants, I've put the link in the show notes.
And you know, and then in terms of like, you know, womb healing, one of my clients had some fibroids, and so we were working around the fibroids, and just for her experience of um the lightness she felt after, and how much more connected to her sexuality she was. And I will say, I will preface this with saying it's not necessarily for everyone, but hers was such a big
Mm.
experience with the womb healing that she started having these sort of like spontaneous orgasms while she was going about her
I
day.
really
And
wow.
yes, like very wonderful experiences. She'd be driving her car and then have these amazing orgasms. And she was like, we're gonna do more of this womb healing. Yes, let's. I thought, oh gosh, I need to do a little bit more on myself too. So but but she just these really big releases and letting go of lots
Mm.
of old things. And for her, that came through very pleasurable orgasmic experience. So that has been those have been some of the incredible things that I've seen, and there's so many all the time, as well
Mm.
as like I mentioned, people just feeling better in their bodies, just feeling more peaceful and more aligned, whether that's releasing stress or releasing grief, um, and and then also to the skeptics, what I would say is yes, be skeptical. Be skeptical about everything in this world that we are in right now, where everyone, you know, it can use AI and all the rest of it. Like be skeptical, ask questions of anyone and everyone. Fact check,
Mm.
get a second opinion. Um, and trust your intuition. If something feels off, get away. But if you're called to something, if you're interested, then, you know, what I would also point to is that a lot of our scientific studies and the medical profession is, our, I should say, Western medical profession is starting to see more of these what would have been considered like new age or fringe is catching up. And
Mm.
so there was an incredible study, let me make sure I get the name of the thing. It's the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, and it's one of the leading cancer research centers,
Mm.
and they just published a study in April really looking at what they called biofield therapy, which is a type of energy healing, and its effect on cancer cells. And what they
Wow.
found was huge. What many energy healers have already maybe experienced and know anecdotally is that it can make a really big difference for people, but they were able to quantitatively measure it and see statistical significance around with the energy healing, which they're calling the biofield therapy, to really arrest the development and the cancer cell growth cycle, as well as moving cancer cells back towards more healthy cell um, uh, development, and
Mm.
like and really seeing that this wasn't a placebo effect. They were working on just the cells, they were working on cells in rats. It's a really comprehensive study that is going to lead to future studies, and statistically shows that this energy healing made a difference
Wow.
to really, in many ways, stop the growth of cancer in these pancreas, and it was specific to pancreatic cancer cells, which are some of the most challenging ones for
Mm.
um, Western medicine to treat through radiation and chemotherapy. So it was absolutely huge. I have actually a little blog post on it, and I'll send it to you so you can read and kind of look a little bit more at what
Yeah,
it is.
please.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would say, even to skeptics, is, you know, science is starting to show this is real and it does have an effect. And it,
Yeah.
it isn't necessarily just placebo,
Mm.
which in some ways, even if it was placebo, if it's having that positive result and benefit, then
It's
like
still
for
working.
me, like what, yeah, well, it's still working. Why are we quibbling?
Yeah.
Like, however, this is showing that it isn't.
Mm.
So that's what I would point to for any skeptic who's a little like,
Mm.
I'd rather see my doctor, and this sounds a little too woo woo.
Mhm.
Be skeptical 100%. And I would say, check out this study because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
Especially because with energy healing, it is energy with Shiwamurti. We're sending the energy through hands, through our eyes, through breath, and through our mental focus, right? And so it's non-invasive in that, like physically invasive. We're not cutting anyone. Like there might be like minimal touch, because in like a full Shiwamurti session, we're doing test points on the body to
Mm.
see if there's blockages. Um, but there's not huge physical manipulation, like we're not pressing down like to,
Mm.
I don't know, crack your back or relocate your
Yeah.
shoulder, anything like that. In that way, and something like this where we're remote, we can also send the energy over video, over FaceTime, over
Mm.
Zoom, actually
Yeah.
even through a picture, which I've had, many clients send me their pictures and they're like, this is what's going on. Or we do a session and then we do some follow-up sessions where I'm working on the picture and they're still seeing results and relief and
Mm.
shifts, that make such a big difference for them. So it opens up a lot of doors without necessarily needing to, be in person and,
Mm.
I don't know, take something internally or be cut open or worry about other kind of side effects. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Incredible. Yeah. I was going to say about side effects. So after an energy healing session, are there sometimes, obviously, there can be very pleasurable effects, but is there sometimes, is there any other type of effects? Sometimes is there a negativity to, I don't know, the moving of the energy? Is there any other experiences people have, or is it normally quite positive?
So normally it's very, very positive.
Mm.
I think, which I wouldn't necessarily see as like a negative side effect, but maybe some people could be a little bit like about it, is that,
Yeah.
we're all such amazing, complicated beings,
Mm.
like onions, and you can peel a layer and then there's another layer. So,
Yeah.
maybe you get some relief, from the shoulder pain, from the elbow pain, and
Mm.
then, which is wonderful. And then we pull back another layer and it's, oh, actually, there's some grief. We've got some pain held somewhere else that's
Mm.
just in a different spot in the body. So it's not necessarily a negative. It's just kind of continuing,
Yeah.
almost like in the spiral. It's not linear. We're not just like getting to a destination. There's layers to it,
Mm.
where then we become a little bit more aware of, oh, this place is a little out of balance, but it wasn't getting a lot of my attention because I was so focused on this other area that had a lot of pain or was causing discomfort. Um, which I think I'm sure from your experience, right, with women who are trying to conceive or going through fertility treatments, sometimes the stress is so high in their life, but
Yeah.
it really only comes to the forefront because this other piece isn't aligning. And
Mm.
then really taking a look at their life, it's like, oh gosh, I've just been like truly just so capable and strong that I've been dealing with this like really challenging thing.
Mm.
And now, like, can I make this easier? Can I not be so hard on myself? Can I just make my life a little bit easier?
Yeah.
Um, and then it can kind of continue to shift from there. So in that way, it's wonderful. because it's an ongoing journey. It's like with our health and wellness, there's no like I solved it. I'm
Yeah.
set, you know, like
Yeah. I completely
there's
yeah.
mm, give me my star, you know. Check that off the list. It's not like that. You know, like life, my yoga teacher used to always say, you know, the life is like the ocean, the waves keep coming. Like you don't just figure it out and then the waves stop. Like they keep coming. But doing yoga on your mat, things like energy healing, that kind of support, um, it allows you to be able to ride the waves a little more easily and have a little more peace and also not attach because that is something that we can really do as women is attach and make it like, oh, this wave came, it's my fault, as opposed to like, no, that's just life.
Yeah.
You know, and like
Yeah.
and that was another thing my yoga teachers always talk about, you know, in English, everything is us. We identify with it. Like I am sad, I am hungry. But in other languages, you know, like in Spanish, it's I have hunger, I have sadness. These are things I have and then I put down. Whereas in English, we're like, we
Yeah.
are angry,
Mm.
but really we have anger in this moment and then we can put it down. We can let it go. And that's something that you know, is just so important for yoga to remind us of, for energy healing to remind us of how we
Mm.
can let these things go, let them move through us and not attach as much, not just to the outcomes, but also to the attached to the experience because tomorrow isn't going to look like today and next year's not going to look like this year. And how we feel in our bodies right now might, well, it won't be how we feel in our bodies next year
Yeah.
necessarily. So how can we still move with that? The
Mm.
up and the downs of the waves and that constant of change and still
Yeah.
go, I'm still here and that's amazing. Like I'm still here.
Mm. Yeah. I love that
Um,
distinction as well between I have and I am. That's so simple,
yes.
but that's really, yeah, I've never thought of it that way before. Yeah, I really love that.
I hadn't either. And I thought it
Yeah.
was so funny, like learning Spanish and like, oh, I have hunger. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
But it's like, actually, that's true.
Hmm.
I have it and then I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
cranky, then I'm not. I'm grumpy, then I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
such a
always
radical
this.
change. No, not always.
Yeah.
That isn't what I am. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
I
So we
love
can
that.
let go of some of the labels. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I'm trying to think if I answered your question fully.
Yeah, I think you did.
I
Yeah,
think so. I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. We have so many things to talk about.
I know we do, yeah. Okay, so if someone listening today is maybe on a fertility journey, trying to conceive, maybe has had some losses along the way, what's sort of a simple practice that she can do to start that reconnection and start this kind of thinking about the energy healing and the way that she could do that? Is there something that you can sort of start with, or is it just that
Totally.
awareness of it? Yeah.
I mean, good point. Good point, Liv. Good point. The first step is always the awareness. I mean, that's truly is the first thing is the
Mm.
awareness. That's huge. So yes. And then the second step I guess I would offer would be like a practice that you could do would be deep, deep, deep listening. And so to, you know, to lie down, and this can be before bed or even first thing in the morning when you wake up, just bringing a hand to your heart and then one to your womb space and just breathing. And then letting go of the thoughts. And, you know, our attention often follows where our hands go because we're just doing things all the time, you know, in our
Yeah.
life. So making sure you have that connection of your hands
Mm.
and that your heart and your womb, you know, in traditional Chinese medicine, the womb is often called the second heart. And so bringing the warmth of the hands, the nurturing that we have from our hands to these two incredibly potent and powerful spaces
Mm.
and just holding them and breathing. And that disconnection can feel so heartbreaking and can bring up so much grief
Mm.
and so many emotions, like, and like you were saying, of trying to do everything right. And so what I would offer is, as much as you can, releasing the judgment. You know,
Mm.
if a puppy were injured, you would never blame the puppy. If it was a
Mm.
kitten, you wouldn't blame the kitten. If it was a bunny, you would never
Mm.
blame it.
Mhm.
So if it helps sometimes to take that step out and say, you know, if I was holding a baby puppy, I would not be like, "That's bad on you. What
Yeah.
did you do to get hurt?" As
Mm.
opposed to just comforting this this sweet, sweet, sweet creature that is hurt. And if we can, for a moment, just hold ourselves where we are and release the judgment and the blame and all of that and say, oh, there's hurt, but I'm here and I'm holding you, and bring that back.
Mm.
Like, that's a big step to coming back to the connection, to the trust, to the presence. Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes trust can feel like a long ways off, you know, it can feel like
Yeah.
many steps. So if we can just, like you said, bring that awareness, bring the breath and the presence to sit with and feel and go, oh, like you would pet a sweet puppy, you would
Mm.
comfort it with your words, with your thoughts, you would soothe it. And to soothe ourselves in that way that we know better than anyone,
Mm.
we want, need, and desire, maybe from when we were little kids, right?
Yeah.
You know, God bless all the parents, right?
Yeah.
And as children, sometimes we needed something a little different, something changed, something a little bit more than that.
Mm.
So we really are the ones who know best how to soothe ourselves. It's just
Mm.
often the very last thing that we will ever do.
Yeah.
Because
It is.
there's the day to day, like, we've got bills to pay, we've got,
Yeah.
you know, bathrooms to clean, like I said.
Yeah.
Clearly, I need to clean my bathroom. It's on my mind.
It's on your mind. Yeah.
It's on my mind. But but those are the ways that it's so important.
Mm.
So important. We can seek it from a partner, and sometimes our partners know when we can tell them, and they can absolutely offer it to us. And you know, we have that time in bed before we go to sleep. When we wake up in the morning, and if we just took a few minutes to
Yeah.
soothe ourselves, it can really shift so much in how we feel and how supported we feel in this journey on our
Mm.
life, in our
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We need all the support we can get. Yeah.
I mean, right?
Mm.
So, yes. So we're not like seeking it from the wrong places or destructive places, or,
Mm. Yeah.
you know,
So
I
maybe
always laugh like,
simple, something you can do is literally just bring that awareness to those two places. That's something you could literally start, today, just to
yes,
start that building that connection again. Yeah. So simple.
yes,
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's so huge and it's so transformative, because then that can start to ripple out
Yeah.
into those moments when it feels like, you know, life's kind of knocked you down. That wave has knocked you down. If you're already supporting and loving yourself,
Mm.
which feels really big, but if it's just presence and awareness and holding yourself like you would a little puppy, it becomes so much easier to support yourself in those bigger, more
Yeah.
challenging moments,
Mm.
because bit by bit, it can start to say, like, you've got this, like, you're not alone. Like, I'm here. We're still here.
Mm.
Like, we're still here. We've been through so much
Yeah.
and we're still going. We can do this. Um, because with that presence, it can be really challenging. But when you can be present with the challenging emotions, it's so much easier to be present in the beautiful, amazing ones
Yeah.
and not jump through them, not, you know, let me get to the next thing. Like, when's this next shoe going to drop? When's the next thing going to go wrong? But
Mm.
in those really happy moments, to saturate in the happiness and the joy, in those really positive moments to go, this is great.
Yeah.
And to be present in those, it can expand the joy in your life.
Mm.
And especially when on like a fertility journey, it can feel like there's not a lot of that.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
so that can, you know, I love that poem um by Thoreau about I went into the woods to live deliberately
Mhm.
to and then talk about sucking the marrow out of life, and you're really getting every juicy morsel out of life,
Mm.
every single bit. My yoga teacher used to talk about the path being like licking honey from the razor's edge, and which is so bananas to think about. Like, I'm like, can I just have a spoonful of honey? But at the same time, the sweetness and the joy, and yes, there can be the cuts and the pain, but they're both there.
Mm.
They're It's all a great mixed bag,
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
don't get one without the other. But if we can breathe through and be present with one, we can really breathe into and really lean into um, those ones that fill our cups and really um, get us in that joyful space to go like, this is good. This is
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. To be able to enjoy, like you say, to be able to enjoy those moments, you obviously have to go through the other one. But yeah, I love that. If you have
Oh
that
yeah.
presence awareness, you can, yeah, not enjoy both, but yeah, experience both, I suppose, in the right
Hmm.
ways. So yeah, I really like that.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, because if you tense up, sorry, I've got it. My doggy wants to come into my
Oh.
lap. So we just had to make an appearance. So because if your breathing goes shallow and stress comes and we can't really be present, we've got to, oh my gosh, like anger's coming up and I can't feel it. I can't feel it. Or grief is coming up. I can't feel it. I push it
Mm.
away. And that's a pattern. And it's gonna happen in the fun times too.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen when you're with friends and family and you can't really sink in and be present and enjoy because you're still in that stress. I gotta go through. I gotta.
Yeah.
And so if you can breathe into one, you can breathe into the other. And then again, you get both and it ebbs and flows. But gosh, those good times get even
Yeah.
better. Right. Or even, I mean, even like deep breath, like, right. With yoga, like the breath gets deeper and yeah, you will feel more pain, but you will be able to move through it.
Mm.
And the orgasms get better.
Yeah.
Like, because you can breathe into them. The
Yeah.
pleasure, like life has so much more pleasure because you can feel it. You can
Mm.
breathe into it. So like, you know, you get one with the other, but like who's not up for great orgasms? Who doesn't love that?
Okay, so Jessica, thank you so much for today. Where can people sort of work with you, find out more about you? Because I'm sure they're going to want to after this conversation.
Oh my gosh, I know I should have that disclaimer. Not
Yeah.
every energy healing session leads to spontaneous orgasms in your car. That was someone's experience. And 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 so I my website is
Mhm.
soulfiredoula.com. And I'm on Instagram, Soulfire Doula. We have our monthly womb healing circles, which are on Zoom, and we have the recordings. So would love to have people join us for those
Yeah,
because it's so
definitely.
special. And then energy healing sessions, like I mentioned, I am in Los Angeles area, so in Southern California. However, energy healing sessions can happen remotely like this.
Mhm.
And so those are some of the ways that I'm available, I'm around. I'm so excited and so grateful to have this conversation with you and to be here, and so grateful for the work that you're doing. It's so incredible and beautiful, and I love your moon and your stars back there. It just,
Mhm.
I know, I'm really happy just by like sisters of the moon here.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's nice to
I love
connect with
that.
kindred spirits who are like,
Yeah.
we love our menstrual blood.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's actually been so lovely to talk to you. It's been so interesting and insightful and inspiring. Like I'm just feeling I'm feeling that energy. I'm feeling like a bit buzzy and yeah, just it's been so great. So thank you so much. I can't wait to share it with everyone.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And yeah, have a great Father's Day as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. I think it'll be a really fun one. And you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your solstice and rest of your evening.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care, Jessica.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. All right, talk soon. Bye.
Bye.